Hello, class, and welcome to a quick review of Unit 3. Now, as always, I will answer questions as they're asked in the forum, but if no one asks any questions, I'll just talk about things that I'm interested in talking about, and that will hopefully be helpful to you, and then I'll call it quits. And just today, I think I will start with Creative Project 1, because that's kind of coming up. That's due on Tuesday. And so I'm going to kind of go through some of the instructions and see if I can offer some clarity and point out some places where people often make some mistakes. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Is it this one? Okay, that looks good. All right. So right at the top, if you do not do the creative projects, you will not pass the course. That's the way the course is set up. This is a core curriculum course. It meets your arts requirements, and in order to keep the core curriculum status, we focus on these creative projects. So if you are, what's going on there? I see. If you miss them, then you miss the course essentially. So you have to do them. There's no getting around it, but that's okay. And if they are late, I will take points off. There is a tremendous number of these to grade every semester, especially during the fall and the spring, and it takes me quite a bit of time to grade each one of them. So if it's late, it becomes a real problem for me. Similarly, if you don't put your name on it, that's also a big problem for me. So your creative project 1.mp3, that could be anybody's. So please follow those directions. Now, as you can see, we mostly we have you write a melody, then we have you perform it, and that's half the points. And the other half of the points, we want to hear what your thoughts on what you created are, what your thoughts on the musical decisions you made. So let's just move into a few things about the melody. Please, we want you to write between 8 and 10 full bars. Now, I don't care if you're in 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, or whatever you want to do. Some people choose 6/8. 6/8 is pretty hard, and since we require you to beam the music correctly, it's easier to stick with one of the simple meters, but it's really up to you. But we do want 8 to 10 full bars, and we're going to ask you to write about this Robert Frost poem. Okay, so into just the nitty-gritty about the melody, between 8 and 10 bars long. You can use a major or a minor scale, but it needs to originally have two or more sharps, 2 or more flats. What I mean by that is C major, A minor, F major, D minor, G major, E minor. Those are the keys. The flats are the major and minor keys with either no flats and sharps, C and A, or 1 sharp, G major, E minor, or 1 flat, F or D. Those are not acceptable keys. I guess I probably should have done it the other way. So what I mean is we want you to be in at least D major or at least B flat major, or the relative minor keys to D major, that would be B minor, and to B flat major, that would be G minor. So we want you to be in a key that uses at least 2 sharps, 2 flats. You can't just stick sharps and flats randomly in your melody. So my suggestion is to pick the scale that you want to use and just write that scale out so you can remember what notes go in that scale. So if you want to use the G minor scale, you can use the melodic, the harmonic, I don't care, but just write them out so you know, all right, these are the notes that are acceptable to use, these are the notes that aren't acceptable to use. Now you can drift if you feel comfortable about it. You can drift a little bit, but generally speaking, it's better just to stay in the key. We want the second to last note to be the leading tone, the 7th scale degree. Now this is usually not a problem except if you're in minor. If you're in minor, I guarantee that half, 3/4 of the people who write in a minor key will not give me a leading tone for the second to last note. They'll give me a subtonic. And as we'll see when we look at minor, just a natural minor scale, the 7th scale degree is called a subtonic. There's a whole tone between the 7th scale degree and the 8th scale degree, the tonic again. And that whole tone is called, it makes the 7th scale degree a subtonic, and we're looking for a leading tone. So you want a semitone between the 7th and 8th scale degree. So make sure you give us a leading tone. And if you're not sure, am I giving you a leading tone? Just show me what you're doing and I can tell you. Okay. Use all the proper rhythmic notation that we hit last unit. And also you want to make sure you're following notation conventions about stem directions, ledger lines, accidentals, and the like that we outline in the first 3 lessons of Unit 1. Okay, performance. No MIDI recordings. What that means is if you put your music into a computer program and it plays it back for you, that is not you playing it. What we want is just a recording of you playing it. And, frankly, I don't care if you hash through it, if it sounds like garbage. We want you to kind of get in there and make sounds on your own. You don't have to use the keyboard that's in this course. You can use an outside program like Soundtrap has a better keyboard. Chrome Jam has a better keyboard. There's so many better keyboards online than the crappy one I made. Or, you can use your own keyboard, or you can play it on a violin, or you can sing it. We don't really care, but we want to hear you actually making sounds. We don't want it played back. Okay, let's see. Performance accuracy is important, so make sure the notes you are actually playing are what's notated in the score. Oftentimes people will have worked out their melody as their performance. They'll play through the melody until they like it, and then they'll try to notate it, and they'll make mistakes. So make sure what you play is what you notate. And remember, the simpler it is, the simpler your melody is, the easier it'll be to notate. Make sure you don't record in a noisy place. So is there a lot of background noise? Is it so distorted because you've turned it up all the way, or you're too close to the mic? Just try to make it sound decent so I can hear what you're doing. Okay. Your analysis. Generally speaking, we want you to be specific and cite evidence from your text and from your melody. So you're going to look at a poem, you're going to describe things you see in the poem, but we want to say, I made this musical decision in my piece because it reflects this section, or I decided to use this type of scale, or I decided to use this type of rhythm because I thought it communicated this. So we want you to kind of say what your musical choices mean. If you do something very dramatic in your music, but don't talk about it in your analysis, we don't quite feel like you have a strong connection between what you've notated and what you described in your analysis. So make sure you're citing evidence from both the original poetic text and your melody, talking about some of the decisions you made and the challenges you overcame. And generally speaking, take a few minutes and proofread it. That also helps. So hopefully that hits all of these types of questions. Let me close this, and I'm going to reload this just to see if anybody's asked a question. Okay, we seem to be question free. So I am going to push on, and I am going to make a few major scales, a few minor scales, and then we'll call it quits. Now you can see here on this major scale palette, and I give you one for each of them, there's lots of different ways of notating pitches. So we have the do, which is the first syllable, which is the first scale degree, and it's called tonic. So if I pick this up what I'm doing, for instance, here, I'm going to place this do, first scale degree, tonic pitch on E on the keyboard, and I can make sound. So now if I want to make a major scale, what I want to see is between this first scale degree 1 and scale degree 2, I want to see a whole tone. Remember, semitone is the distance between two adjacent keys. Whole tone would be two semitones. So 1 and then 2. There's two semitones. So between E and F sharp, two semitones. So what I would do is I would put my re there. Now, why is it F sharp and not G flat? Well, in scales, we don't want to skip letters, right? So if we start with an E, we're going to need some sort of F. We can't go from E all the way to G, right? So it's E, F sharp, and now between 2 and 3, I want a whole tone. So there's a whole tone, one semitone, two semitones, G sharp, so E, F sharp, G sharp. Now we're going to want some sort of A, right? And between 3 and 4 is a semitone, so they're going to be adjacent. Between 4 and 5 is a whole tone. So between the 4th scale degree and the 5th scale degree, we have a whole tone. Between 5 and 6 is a whole tone. Between 6 and 7 is a whole tone. And between 7 and 8, between the leading tone and the tonic, is a semitone. So here I've made an E major scale by just using the keyboard. Let me see if I can play this. Great. So what happens if I wanted to change where it started? What happens if let's take some of these out. And this is really what we mean by the fact that it's a pattern. This pattern of whole tones and half tones, semitones, this is the pattern that determines whether something's a major scale or a minor scale or no scale at all. So let's start here. Let's start on a B flat. Okay, so between the first scale and the second scale degree is a whole tone. So if I start on B flat, a whole tone above that is a C. Now, it's not a C flat, right? This would be a semitone. It's a C, whole tone. Oops. Okay, now between the second and third scale degree, whole tone. So you just want to remember these patterns, right? You want to write them down. And when you get to the test, you want to just kind of, take a scrap piece of paper and just blurt these out so you can remember these different patterns. But between the second scale degree and third scale degree is a whole tone. So one semitone, two semitones. Between the third and the fourth is one of our semitones. And if you can remember, with the major scale, we have a semitone between 3 and 4, 7 and 8 every time. So B flat, C, D, E flat, and then we're going to want some sort of F, and between 4 and 5 is a major. Between 5 and 6 is a major. Between 6 and 7 is a major. And between 7 and 8, that's our other semitone. So you can see between 3 and 4, adjacent keys. Between 7 and 8, adjacent keys. I guess maybe I got it doesn't really matter. They're both do's, and there's another major scale. So you want to spend a fair amount of time just playing with this. Oh, let's see. So we have made a major scale. So let's move on and try just a plain minor scale. And we need to give this a second to load up. Okay, here we go. Now, there's in terms of the names of the notes, we still have do, re, mi, fa. Well, we have some slightly different syllables, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, te, do. But what's more critical for you is we have different names for that 7th scale degree. Instead of a leading tone, which is the semitone below the tonic, like in the major scale, we had that semitone between 7 and 8. Now we have a whole tone between 7 and 8, and we call the 7th scale degree a subtonic. It simply does not have the same directional push. In major, it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. It has that sense of pushing up. But in minor, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, te, do. It doesn't have that sense of like, I've got to go, I got to get there. So it's not really considered the same note. It's called a subtonic. Now we'll see when we do the harmonic and melodic, we'll change our subtonic by semitone and make a leading tone, but for now it's just a subtonic. So why don't we start on C? Now between the 1st and 2nd scale degree is a whole tone, 1 key in between. Between 2 and 3 though, it's a semitone. So there's no keys in between. Between 3 and 4, whole tone. Between 4 and 5, whole tone. And here's our other semitone between 5 and 6. So between 6 and 7 is a whole tone, and between 7 and 8 is a whole tone. So here is our natural minor scale. Easy. So let's do another. Let's start up here. Let's start on F sharp. So between 1st and 2nd scale degree is a whole tone, right? So you want to key between. So F sharp, G sharp. Now I know it's G sharp, not A flat, because, right, I don't want to skip letters. F, G, F sharp, G sharp. Semitone between 2 and 3. Whole tone between 3 and 4. Whole tone between 4 and 5, right? Semitone between 5 and 6. Whole tone between 6 and 7, and whole tone between 7 and 8. So F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp. Let's listen to that. Oops. Okay. So this works because the pattern is the same each time, right? There's always the semitone between 2 and 3 and 5 and 6. Always the same pattern. No matter what note we start on, we're going to do a pattern. So you could really do something very instantly if you just know the pattern. You just follow the whole steps, half steps, and almost without even thinking about it, you can remake a minor scale, a natural minor scale, or any of the different scales if you remember the pattern. Okay. Let's play around with the harmonic and melodic, and then I'll take a minute to talk about relative and parallel keys, and maybe key signatures if anybody's interested in that. Okay. So let's start with a minor, and we'll do one we did before. I'll just throw up a C minor scale. And remember, we have that semitones between 2 and 3, and semitones between 5 and 6. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay, so now I want to make a harmonic minor scale. Now, harmonic minor scales, they kind of solve that problem. Remember I said there's that semitone between 7 and 8. We have a subtonic. Oh, sorry. But we want, but you know, oftentimes we want that leading tone, that sense of pressure up, right? So what we do is we raise the 7th scale degree in the harmonic minor scale by a semitone. So our te becomes a T, right? So now we have that leading tone. So in your melody, make sure you don't have a subtonic. Make sure you have a leading tone. Let's see how that sounds. Now this creates another little problem, and a lot of people in the Middle Ages and in the Renaissance, 12th, 13th, 14th century, they didn't like this sound. Too exotic sounding for them. So when they put the 7th scale degree up, they didn't want what is called an augmented second, and we'll see that in the next unit. But so they also decided to raise the 6th scale degree. So instead of, they go. So instead of lay, they have la. So now the semitone is between 7 and 8 and 2 and 3. Now on the melodic minor scale, we have an upward version, which is what we have here. Oh. But we also have a downward version. And in the downward version, the raised 7th, which had been te to T, goes back down, and the raised 6 also goes back down. So now we have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, te, le, sol, fa, mi, re, do. So on the way down, it's just a natural again, right? But on the way up, we have a raised 6th and 7th scale degree. So natural minor, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, te, do. Harmonic minor, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Melodic minor ascending, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And then descending, te, le, sol, fa, mi, re, do. And if you follow these patterns, you can build starting on any note. The key is make sure you don't skip any letters, and make sure you don't duplicate letters. So your musical letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you need to have one of those in each. You can't go from F to A. You can't go from B to D. You can't have two B's. There needs to be a note that's a B, a C, a D, an E, an F, and a G. You got it? Okay. So let's talk briefly about some other topics. And I'm going to open up this transposition note palette so we can look at some other issues. Okay, so let's say I have a D major scale, D, E, F sharp. Then between 3 and 4, I have a semitone. Whole tone between 6 and 7, semitone between 7 and 8. All right, so here's my D major scale. Now, if I look at what is called the relative minor, it's very similar. Now, if you want to think relative, you can think, twin, right? Maybe all the same genetics, but slightly different. Or so it has all the same notes, but they're kind of placed differently. So I have a B and a C, and now I get a D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. So if I have a D major scale, the relative minor scale is the scale that will have all the same notes, D, 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 E, E, F sharp, G, G, A, B, B, C sharp, D, D. It has all the same pitches, but the order of the order that the semitones and whole tones come in changes. So in D major, we have the semitone between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8, and I'll just play that. And the semitones come in the same place, but the tonic is different. So here we have the semitone between 2 and 3. And then between 5 and 6. So the relative, except one's sort of like the happy twin and one's kind of the morose goth one. Just joking. But that kind of gives you the impression of what relative is. Now, if you are trying to, if I ask you what the relative minor of D major is, what you can do is you can count back to the 6th scale degree, because the relative minor will always begin on the 6th scale degree of the major. So D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. B is the relative minor. Or if I just, let's do A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat. So let's play that. So here's an A flat major scale, quick and easy. If I think about the numbers, A flat's 1, B flat's 2, C is 3, 4 is D flat, E flat is 5, F is 6. That's my 6th scale degree. So my relative minor will be on F. So if I start on F but use all these same pitches, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F. Relative minor always starts from the 6th scale degree of the major. Now, if I ask you what the parallel minor would be, instead of having all the same pitches as the major, it just starts and ends on the same place. So the parallel major for D major is D minor. The parallel major for F sharp or F flat major, sorry, A flat major is A flat minor. So for instance, D major would have the semitone between the 3rd scale degree and the 4th scale degree, 7th and 8th. D minor is going to have that semitone between the 2nd and 3rd scale degree and between the 5th and 6th. So here's 5, semitone. Okay. But they are major and they are parallel because they start and end in the same place. So D major, D minor, that's all there is to it. Relative is a little more complicated, always starts on the 6th scale degree of the minor. So let's reload this. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Let's see if anybody's written while we are reloading. I think it has clapped out. Let's try it again. All right, here we go. I'm going to make it just a skosh bigger if I can. Oh, seems to be as big as it wants to be. Okay. Key signatures. Right, there's simple rules or kind of tricks that I learned that I'm going to teach you some of. Some of them you just sort of have to remember, but some of them are fairly easy. Let's do this clean area here. No flats, no sharps, C major. Now, if I'm in C major and C is the first scale degree, what would the relative minor be for C major? It would be C, B, A. 6. Remember, I said it was for the relative minor, it starts on the 6th scale degree of the major. So when you look at this and see no sharps and flats, it could be two things: C major or A minor. Similarly, if you have one flat, and I'm going to show you some tricks, but they don't work on these, so that's what I'm showing you. If you have one flat, you have to remember that that's F major. Now, if you, just like I said, if you go F, which is the scale degree 1, go down to E, scale degree 7, scale degree 6. There we go. If you see this, it's F major or D minor. Okay. So got that out of the way. Okay. Let's start with sharps. Sharps and flats always come in the same order. You can't skip around. They're always sequential. The F sharp always comes before C sharp. You don't have a G sharps without C sharps. It's always the same order: F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, etc. Okay. When you're looking at a key signature with a sharp, the sharp always represents the 7th scale degree. Essentially, we're altering that 7th scale degree to create a new scale. So if I see this F sharp, the note above F sharp, a semitone above F sharp, is the scale. So F sharp, G. And if I wanted to do the relative minor, G, it's G major, G, F sharp, E. Relative minor would be E, E minor, F sharp. The new 7th scale degree is C sharp, so D major, G sharp, A major. What would be the parallel minor or the relative? Well, the parallel minor would be A sharp, A minor, right? Because parallel minor and major start on the same key. Relative would be the 6th scale degree. So A, G sharp, F sharp. See, F sharp's in the key signature. So it would be, let's see, let's get a ledger line. We're in A major. And then we have G sharp, right? Because G sharp's right there in the key signature. F sharp. So the parallel minor would be F sharp. D sharp. What's the scale here? Well, remember, the last sharp is the 7th scale degree, so D sharp, E. Okay, this is an A sharp. What's the 7th scale degree? That's A sharp is the 7th scale degree of what? B major. What about the relative minor? Well, B, A sharp, right? And then G sharp. Remember, our G's are sharp. So the relative minor would be G sharp. E sharp. Ooh, that's a tricky one. How about, so we have E if you look at your piano, and then sharp. So it's played on the same key as the F. E sharp. Well, it would be F sharp. F sharp major. So F sharp, E sharp, D sharp. D sharp would be a parallel minor. And we're kind of running out of space. The last is B sharp. And B sharp is the 7th scale degree of C sharp. So it'd be C sharp major. So again, whatever you have, we just go up a semitone. C sharp, we already have B sharp. Relative minor will be A sharp. So let's just do a couple random ones. Throw a couple of these away. What's our scale here? Well, last sharp, that's the 7th scale degree. So G sharp is a semitone below A. So we're in A major. What would be our what would be our relative minor? Well, A, and then you count down, G sharp, and then remember F sharp, because F sharp's already in the key signature. Parallel minor would be F sharp. Okay, let's try some flats. We already know that one flat is F. And it would be more trouble to explain why that is than you want to deal with. Okay. Here's 2 flats. What you do is look at the second to last flat. The second to last flat is your key. So here we are in B flat. Now, if I want the parallel minor, B flat, A, G. Here we go. Second to last flat is E flat, A flat, G, F minor, right? Second to last flat is A flat, G, F, F minor. Let's see. G flat. Let's pull that up. G flat. Sorry, that's not. We're in D flat minor, second to last flat. So D flat, C, and B flat, right? Remember, B flat's already in the key signature. So this would be B flat minor. And remember, I'm just going to reiterate this. You look at the second to last flat. So second to last flat here is D flat. Sorry, I'm having to count in my head. C flat, second to last flat is G flat minor. So we're in G flat minor, G flat, F, E flat. The relative minor would be E flat. Remember, E flat's already in the key signature. And the very last flat would be F flat. So what key are we in here? Second to last flat, C flat minor. All of the notes are flats. So C flat, B flat, A flat. That is it. Those are your key signatures. Those are your major and minor scales. And please let me know if you have any questions. If not, I'm going to sign off and go swimming. Okay. Have a good night.